Austin, how do you feel physically?
I feel great.
I said Austin just because of his injury at the end of the first half.
Okay. Oh. The first couple questions are then we get to the.
Tell us what happened to Austin.
He sprained his ankle. Obviously, he was able to go in the second half. Is he 100% no? We'll figure it out as soon as we get back to school. But he's played most of the second half, limping a little bit, but it's okay.
Coach, talk about your team's ability to scrap back into the game in the second half, despite not necessarily executing.
Yeah, we with this we didn't play well. I think flat. I don't want to use that word. We just didn't play well. And you have to give them credit for that. They do a very good job of taking you out of your rhythm and they just run and jump and trap and play hard. And so we got to give them credit for that. But the way you worded the question is what we talked about. We just scrap. It's like forget everything. We got to start doing a better job on the boards, which the young man to my left did an outstanding job of. And started making the hustle plays. They were getting every loose ball. They were making the hustle plays in the first half. In the second half, I felt we did.
Coach, going back to that week off you guys had about a month or so ago, before the St. John's game, you told us at the first practice that you spent a lot of that time focusing on defense, specifically individual matchups, getting your players to be more accountable for their one-on-one matchups. And since that time, it really seems the defense has stepped up again today. Marquette field goal shooting far below their normal standards. Just talk about the effort on the defensive ends, perhaps since that time, and how it's also helped on both ends of the court.
Well, I think that our defense has been better. And I think it's just as simple as the guys understand now that it is personal. You've heard me say this in previous games. We can sit here and talk about schemes and systems and man or zone. At the end of the day, you got to guard somebody. The guys in front of you have to guard him. You have to stop him. Now, in doing that, your teammates are going to have your support. And I think that our guys went through a phase where we now realize it's as simple as that.
Specifically today, there was that stretch you guys were up about at one point, held it without a basket for 4 or 5 minutes, and that was when you guys were able to pull away and get some of that margin. What was working for you there at that point?
I think at that point, I don't think our defense was, and I may watch the tape and change my mind, I don't think our defense was poor in the first half. Our rebounding was poor. And so we were getting a lot of the same stops, but we were getting the ball this time instead of them getting second shots.
Going back to the scrappy part, how important is it during a winning streak like this to kind of be reminded, to have a game like this where you have to claw your way back and kind of be reminded that, things can go poorly if you aren't able to do that?
I don't think that's necessary. I think we have a group, especially in light of how we started conference play. We know we don't need to be reminded that you have to play well to win in the Big East. And every game you have to scrap and you have to fight to win in this conference. And so I don't think we need a reminder as to how we have to be tough and play hard. I think our guys know that.
Back up. Go ahead, Joe.
John,
pretty soon. Okay, I think we should start. I'll control it. Can you say your name and who you're with, please?
Joseph Way with the Associated Press.
Thank you.
First half, every time the play is stopped, they're sending in 3, 4 guys. I assume you're cognizant of that, and how do you react as a coach to the way he just kept bringing wave after wave with fresh bodies after every break in play?
We just had to make sure we knew who was on the court and what our defense is, who was guarding who.
Yeah. Tarek from the Post.
Just one name?
It's sort of like a Brazilian soccer player. Going back to Austin, it sounds like there might be a little concern that his ankle might, there might be issues going forward.
He's got a sprained ankle, so is it a concern? Yeah. So I think standing here now, I think that'll affect Wednesday. Not at all.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear.
What you were saying.
Who are you?
This is me. No. Craig, I used to WTOP. You had talked about how you have to scrap and call, but you have reeled off 8 in a row in this conference. That's not an easy thing to do. What do you think you've done better, maybe, than you weren't doing early?
We're defending better, and also during that stretch, all right, we had a couple of guys that we need to score that were having had a bad stretch, and so we can go okay if talking to Chris Austin, Jason here, you know, if one of them has a bad day, we're okay. If two of them, depending on who the opposition is, okay. But we go through a stretch with three of them, and they were getting good looks, ball just wasn't going in. And so, and those guys have to score for us. So they had about a bad 10-day stretch. That stretch is over. They're back to being themselves.
Craig Stowe for Washington Examiner. Could you talk about the struggles to defend?
Isn't that so much better?
Can you talk about the team's battle with the Devontae Gardner inside? It seemed like when he fouled out, that seemed to open things up for you guys.
Big fella's pretty good. He's going to be pretty good. He is pretty good. You know, he's a load in there, and they do a good job of isolating. He keeps working. So it definitely became easier. You know, when he got in foul trouble, and then when when he fouled out of the game. See, you can be very effective when you can stay in the lane for 7 or 8 seconds.
Coach, what happened on the inbounds pass? I was blocked by a screen that was in front of me. On the inbounds pass, it was Tolma Odom, Jonathan Odom, and then laid it back in. What went awry there?
I think we got it in. He just stole the ball. That's right. Yeah, we got it in. Chris was passing to somebody, I don't know. He just made a good defensive play. Okay.
Coach, did you consider this game like a trap game in between College and DC? Did you consider this game as a trap game in between Syracuse and UConn?
What is a trap game?
Like a game like in between like two very good opponents in the Big East.
I think this game was against a very good opponent in the Big East. So we don't look at that as a trap game. That's a terrific team over there. In this conference, there are no trap games.
Ron Bailey, HoyerReport.com. Darius Johnson Odom, you guys, he scored early, and it was a big stretch in the second half where he didn't. Was there something specifically you did, or his shots just weren't wrong?
No, they just guarded him well. I think that we did a good job of pushing up on him, and then once he started to go to the basket, we had help back behind. I think our guys just worked out. That wasn't anything tactical. That was just hard work by the guys.
Austin, can we Ben Standig, CSN Washington? Ask Austin.
This is perplexing to me, because like you guys can sit out there and ask us anything and everything, and I sense some tension just because I'm asking you to say who you are and who you work for.
So good.
Okay, Mr. Frank.
Austin, how's the game? Can you describe what happened on that ball?
Down on the floor and somebody landed on my ankle. Kind of like, it rolled.
Were you nervous at the time that maybe it was something more serious?
Not really. I was just trying to get up and see if I could walk on.
How much pain were you in the second half?
Dave,
You already know who I am. Already identified myself.
I forget, who are you?
I was in pain, but I played through it. So it didn't hurt as much while I was playing. So I'm good.
So let's talk about your work on the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in the first half, they out-rebounded us, and we, coming out the locker room at halftime, we emphasized boxing out and get rebounds, and I think my teammates did a great job of boxing out, which allowed me to come in and get the boards.
Did you see that? Was that a point of emphasis, given that you were replacing Freeman too, because he was late coming back to join the team after the break?
I mean, not really. I think just as a team, we really focus on getting down there, and all 5 of us getting the boards. So. Austin, I didn't get a chance to ask you a question. When did you, after you turned your ankle, when did you realize? I assume it looked like you had something like a splinter tape or something like that was on it. When did you realize you would be able to play through it, even if it was a little bit limited?
I told Ms. Mike, the trainer, that I was going to play through it anyway. So I just told her to take me up and let me go back out there.
So you didn't really give her a choice. You just told her I was going to play. Just fix me up.
And is that getting taped up? Is that why you were sort of late getting back to the court?
That's it.
Questions for Chris?
Yeah, Chris. Can we talk about that inbounds pass and what happened?
Stole it. Made a good play, stole the ball.
Yeah.
So, made a good play, stole the ball. And I mean, it was bad judgment. I was beating myself up after the game because I made a couple bad plays on the stretch. Just time management wasn't good, but yeah, he just made a good play.
Just in the big picture here, with the with the comeback and getting a scrappy win here, how important is it? I sort of asked this question to JT3, but I'll ask it a little differently here. How important was it to have a win like this, where you had to overcome poor three-point shooting early in the game, you had to overcome mental breakdowns, and you still were able to get it done? Satisfying, maybe a better word than
for the next game.
Important.
So it was, it was like, I mean, it was tough. It's just, I think it's just how games go. Sometimes we shoot well, sometimes we don't. So, I just think as long as we stayed with our stuff and kept fighting, and our energy was very good today on both ends of the floor. We weren't always executing, but in terms of hustle and just covering each other's back, I think it was there. So, in terms of rough shooting or whatever, it happens. And, we grinded it out today, and we stuck with it, and everybody stayed together, and it paid off.
Was there a point in the game where you felt like the momentum had swung your way? I mean, I think you guys did have like a 23-9 run after being down 5, and then you came.
Yeah, I definitely felt like that. There's a couple plays, but one play that really sticks out to me is when Henry got an and one, and Sims got an and one. I think he made the free throw, and that put us up by 5. And that was a big turning point, and we got some stops, and they got out in transition. Austin got an easy layup. Mike is whack. Austin got an easy layup, and after that, we just had to get stops and finish the game.
Chris, Chris, as I asked Coach before, when you guys had that week off, and you all talked about the emphasis on defense that week, and I think it's really it seems as has played out since. Just talk about what that week of focusing on defense meant since, and just how you all executed on that end today.
We definitely, like we said before, we've had some serious 3-on-3 battles, and it's just real intense. And we kind of just take it personal. You want to go out there and defend. You don't want to get scored on. You want to keep your man off the board. So, regardless if we're in man or zone, we always play with man principles. Like, you have to guard the man in front of you. So, we just want to get after it and do our best to keep the person out the lane and force them to tough shots.
Chris, I know you're a student of the game and pay attention to stats and standings and stuff like that. What do you think when you guys win 8 in a row, and Pittsburgh and Notre Dame are still there in front of you? I mean, do you ever wonder when are they gonna have their rough patch? I mean, and start to come back to you a little bit?
Nah, I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's tough. That's just how the Big East is. We won 8 games and we're still in 3rd place. So it just goes to show that as the season goes on, it doesn't matter who you're playing. Every team is very good. I don't know who's in. I don't even know the stand. I just know we're in 3rd. So,
okay.
But what I do know is that every game, night in, night out, is tough, and you just got to come ready to play because every team has very good players and very good coaches.
What was it like for you as a player with the massive substitutions they kept doing in the first half? Were you like, oh man, not again? Or was it crazy?
They were something a lot. I don't know why they were doing it, but I guess it was kind of just to throw us off balance and try to catch us off rhythm or something like that. But a lot of their players are very good, and they all are aggressive players. So as long as you knew what their tendencies were, and stay attentive, I think we were fine.
What was the plan against Johnson? You guys had a stretch. He had Sebastian Slate, but in the good stretch in the middle, you guys held him down. What was the plan against him today?
He's a tough player. He's very physical. He's very strong, and he's fast. So we just wanted to kind of filter him into tough shots, force him when we had help and stuff, and just contest him, really play as tough as you can. Some players like him and other guys, it's too much. It's not too much you can do. You just got to try to contain them. So that's what we want to do, and it worked to our benefit for a while. I think kind of got him on rhythm, and I think largely in part because of our defense and the way our schemes work. I think he was kind of hesitant, but it worked out to our benefit.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Sports Talk 980.
Thank you.
What was the explanation of the technical foul? I didn't quite understand that. And they got the ball back, right?
He didn't. It was not a tech. A tech was not called.
Okay.
That was a very aggressive warning. They were warned. At that point in the game, they were warning him for being on the court. It was not a tech. Yes, we took too many threes.
Any other questions?
He's offering up something there.
I'm surprised you didn't ask that question.
Well, because every time we ask you shoot us down. So in
So
your
I'm gonna ask a question?
so in your estimation today, John, team might have tried to rely on the three-pointer too much?
No, I didn't rely on it. I said we took too many.
Okay.
You know, I said we were off. Well, the first thing I said we were flat. When I
Okay.
first got up here, we were flat. I didn't say flat. We were off.
Okay.
We were off. You know, it wasn't one of our better outings. And in the course of doing that, you know, we did a good job of getting it in and kicking it out. But then after a while, we had to get. I think in the second half, we did a better job of throwing it in and getting penetration and getting different kinds of shots. I don't know whether the numbers will agree with that, but definitely in the first half, we were just taking too many threes. We're making them work hard enough.
John, in terms of taking too many, were you not happy with the looks, or?
No, I was happy with the looks for the most part. I was happy with